Well, we made it.
All right.
It's a little after 2 o'clock. Sorry those of you who are watching this live and you had to wait an extra few seconds, but we got it all squared away. You know, technology is something, I tell you, isn't it? I mean, we want to be masters of it. We want it to work for us, but every now and then it seems to master us. Don't you think so?
But it was worth the wait for him, wasn't it?
I'm telling you. If you are not familiar by now, my name's Ryan Pierce, and I'm the Division Chair for School of Business and Technology, bringing you Global Entrepreneurship Week 2022. And this is, wow, I don't want to gush too much, but who I have across from me is the legendary Joe Lane. I like to say that now. Now, you like to laugh and say, like, oh, come on now, you're doing too much here. But truly, always good to get a chance just to have a moment to sit and talk with you, hear your experiences, get your ideas and your input on everything from in the world of business and even in life sometimes when we get into those conversations. But today we're focusing on entrepreneurship. And I just want to welcome you to this, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Absolutely, you're way too kind with what you say. But again, we have had some great conversations, and aside from you being my division chair, we're good.
You always throw that in there.
We're good friends, and we enjoy this, and I think perhaps those folks that'll be listening with us, I think they will enjoy it as well. But appreciate the opportunity to come and sit with you.
Yeah, absolutely. This week has been fantastic, phenomenal. We've had folks from industry. We've had, of course, entrepreneurs themselves, some that have ties to LDCC. And then today seems like it's Education Wednesday because we had Professor Dunn on at 9 o'clock this morning. And now at the 2 o'clock hour, we have you. And I think that's the best way to kind of wrap up the day is to spend a little time. You know, I could introduce you, and I'll make it really brief and say that as far as your time with LDCC, you've been with us for, is it 20 years, close to 20 years?
About 20 years.
20 years. And I give you credit. I mean, you basically built the School of Business and Tech. It started off as just a program, which was the Business and Technology program,
That's right.
from what I understand.
Yes,
now, you may have even more
right.
history. Yeah. And that now it's grown to an entire division that has close to 10 programs, lots of concentrations, and we're just thrilled to serve the community and help students on their pathway to success. And so, if you don't mind, give us a little bit of if you would, sort of your history with LDCC. And if you would like, you can also talk about maybe your industry-based experience as well, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, like you said, I've been with the LDCC here about 20 years. I came in as an adjunct, but back during that time, the first semester I taught a course. The second semester I was full time as an adjunct, and the third semester I think I was full time as far as faculty is concerned. I had recently retired and from one set of jobs and things, and had the opportunity when I was first called to teach that course at Louisiana Delta Community College. I said, I don't know what Louisiana Delta Community College is. They said, it's a brand new community college, and we really need you to teach a management course, and that was the first course I taught. And then again, it did not take long before I had the opportunity to come aboard full time, and then after a period of time after that, I took over as the coordinator of the Business and Technology program here. Then for a period of time, I was at that time in the organization, I was known as I was the dean of the School of Business.
Right, I remember that.
And when I took the job as dean, I told him, I said, at some point, I want to step back from that. I've done enough administration things, and I don't want to do this forever. At some point, I just want to come back and step down and teach and advise and work with students.
Which is your first love.
Which is my first love. And, it's really been interesting. There was a period of time when I was your boss, and I use the term boss in the way I think everybody can tell. And it's evolved around where now you're running the School of Business and Technology.
Scary thought.
Doing a better job with it than I did it, but it has been great to be in the role that I'm in now, because I am all about students being being successful here at Delta so that they can be successful in their career. So I do what I love to do, and you give all of the faculty the opportunity to do the things that we can do to help students. So that's kind of the background as far as Delta. Before that, I was in the education realm, but I was in educational administration. I was in the elementary and secondary school systems for a long period of time in chief financial officer, assistant superintendent roles, and then I came to ULM as director of business operations before I retired. I thought retiring into the private sector because I wasn't retiring to retire, and then, like I say, the opportunity at Delta Community College came up, which we've already talked about. But I've been very blessed to have a great opportunity to do a lot of great things and work for some really great people, including Ryan Pierce.
And he's paid to say that.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate the compliment nonetheless. Thank you. And it's been great to work with you and, of course, learn from you. That's always been a key factor.
From each other. Yeah.
That's right.
I tell my students, when we come in that first day, I tell them, I'm going to teach you some stuff, and you're going to teach me some stuff, and we're going to teach each other some stuff, because we do learn from each other. We learn from each other what we know, our experiences, and that sort of thing. And so it's a learning experience for all of us all the time.
Well, since you're an educator, you have this one particular philosophy that I think it's so important that people hear. And that philosophy is that of, you don't have a teaching philosophy, but you have a learning philosophy. Can you speak to that for a second?
When I say that, at first people will say you're just a play on words, and I let them know real quickly. No, it's an entire different philosophy. It's how you come about doing things. And I've never had a job in my life. I've had missions. I've had things that I've put my heart into that I've wanted to do. At the college level, we're talking about. It's not about the teacher. It's not about teaching. If I've got a job here, I've got to know something, or they wouldn't give me the job. But it's not about me going in and teaching a class. It's about learning. It's about students having the opportunity to learn. And so my job, I'm not center stage. The students are center stage. And so I don't have a teaching philosophy. It's not about teaching. It's about whether students learn or not. And I tell students it's about whether you learn or not. And also, it's about whether you learn things that can help you be successful at Delta and be successful in your career. So my goal is to help students be successful, help students to learn so they can be successful here, but learn those life things that need to be learned as well. And so I truly have a learning philosophy. That's what it's all about, and that includes me learning as well.
Yeah, well said. Very well said. And so with that in mind, I'm hopeful. I know I'm going to learn something with this conversation. And I'm hopeful that the viewing audience is going to learn something with this conversation as well. So let's talk for a second. Where this whole week is dedicated to entrepreneurship, something that our School of Business and Technology has just magically thought to do, right? So that this has been good. And it's been really fruitful conversations. Now, why do you think entrepreneurship is a relevant topic to talk about in the year 2022?
Well, first of all, let me say it didn't magically happen. It happened through a lot of work that you've done to make this happen. But I was looking at Global Entrepreneur Week, which talks about the entrepreneur. And, I teach business classes. And so one of the questions that I ask early on is, how many of y'all would like to own your own business, i.e. be an entrepreneur? Mm-hmm. And I'd say at least 2/3 of the students on average will raise their hand that they would like to be an entrepreneur. That doesn't mean all 2/3 are going to be, right. but the entrepreneurial spirit and everything is very strong among everybody. And so I got to thinking, if this is Entrepreneurial Week, so when you think about entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial spirit, you're thinking about business and primarily small businesses. And so I got to think, well, just how important are entrepreneurs? I mean, you know, as far as our society, as far as our economy and everything, you know, this thing about are entrepreneurs still relevant in 2022? I mean, these little small businesses, do they really matter anymore or not? And so I would throw out the question to anyone: how many small businesses are there in the United States? And now, small businesses is defined a lot of ways. That
I was going to ask you, what is the definition that you're using right now?
The norm in statistical studies are 500 or less employees is considered a small business.
Sounds like a big business to me.
It does to me too. But they derive a lot of these statistics off of 500 or less. And so, you know, you get to thinking, well, how many of them are there? So I want whoever watches this and listens to this, you know, conjure up a guess in your mind. And I'm pausing for you to ponder. Now that you've pondered, was your guess 32.5 million? I would say no.
30?
There are 30 plus million small businesses in America.
That is a big number.
So, and you know, that's almost the perfect lead in, because, you know, when I relate these things back to my class. When the first day when I go into an introduction to business class, I will say, name me a business. You know, now I can get y'all to guess what business comes up first. Walmart.
Because everybody shops at Walmart, right?
You know, or they, you know, they'll name a Walmart, or they'll name a Target, or they'll name a General Motors, or Microsoft, or Apple, or things like this. And then people kind of get, you know, that, well, business is all about those folks. But I want to paint a word kind of picture for you here. That 32.5 million small businesses, that's the very, very strong foundation. That's that 100 by 100 foot, 3 feet thick foundation. That's what makes our economy work. That's what keeps our economy strong. That's what business in America is about. Now, growing on those, being supported by those small businesses, are the Targets and the Microsofts and the Walmarts and these businesses like this. Do we have to have those businesses? Certainly. Can they do some things that small businesses can't do? Certainly. So I'm not putting them at odds with each other. I'm just saying that these big ones have grown out of Stuart Cathy, who started Chick-fil-A. He had one little cafe across from I think it was a Ford assembly plant in Atlanta, and it grew into a humongous giant. And of course, people who live around here, you know, they know Clark Williams Jr., who started a little telephone company in Oak Ridge that is now Lumens. But that doesn't mean that every small business is going to become a giant. But it does mean that the small businesses of America are what support our economy, and they are what support these large businesses, and they support the lifestyle that we have. One more comment.
Sure. I'm taking notes.
I tell my students this. If you woke up in the morning and every business was gone, would it change your lifestyle? And their answer is, oh yeah. I tell them, you'd go back 200 years in time. You would go back to hunting and fishing and trapping and growing your own stuff and all these sort of things. Your lifestyle would change dramatically. Business, anchored by, or the foundation being small business, gives us the lifestyle that we have today. So is entrepreneurship, is it still cool in 2022? Entrepreneurship is cooler than it's ever been. More people are interested in it, and it's still that foundational thing on everything builds.
And this is how you know you're in the midst of a true professor. It's like there's nothing else to ask. There's nothing to say. It's because I was going to follow up and remind everybody of what you said, the foundation. You know, I like what you said, but you closed with what I was wanting to talk about. So but it's perfect. I mean, I like what you said. I like how it comes across. Everything starts with an idea. It's probably going to start small. Nobody just up and decided I'm going to make a corporation and 2,000 people show up ready to work it, right? It's going to be right there. And then, like you said, small businesses are supporting those bigger businesses. But you can only have so many big businesses or big, large conglomerates. Right. Majority of businesses are going to be mom and pop, or at the very least, those organizations that have less than 500 in the organization, that's a ton. I'm trying to think, is LDCC, do we have more than 500? We might be considered to be
well, if you start,
business.
You start and think about the city of Monroe, West Monroe, this area around here, you start looking at the businesses that employ more than 500 people. There are certainly a number of them, but still, those that employ less than 500 or 100 or 50 or maybe even 25, they are contributing to the wealth of this community, and each one of them, and collectively, like you said a few minutes ago, small business entrepreneurship is really big business.
And so let's ask that question, right? So we're talking about employees, and that leads to the question of, well, how many jobs are typically created by the small business? I'm thinking, I've said this all week. When I think about owning my own business, I'm really thinking about being my own boss, doing my own work. And I'm probably not going to be a team player and want to share that with anybody else. But I've been sort of slapped on the wrist all week to say, no, you're probably going to need other people to help you do whatever it is you're trying to do. And so that leads us to, well, if a small business is going to employ, about how many are being employed by small businesses today? Do we have that?
About a million and a half new jobs are created by small businesses each year, and a large percentage of those are new jobs.
Wait, so
new jobs.
a million and a half?
Yeah.
And a large percentage of them are new jobs?
A lot of these are new jobs. I mean, stop and think about these. A lot of innovation comes out of small business.
Makes sense.
I mean, these people, they open their own business. They're excited. They're creative thinkers, and a lot of innovation comes out of our small business communities. And so it makes sense that small businesses create a lot of jobs, but they create a lot of new jobs. You talk about, I hear them sometimes talking about, we got to train people for jobs that aren't even in existence yet. And again, a lot of that credit comes to what happens within small businesses, that innovation and those sort of things that happen.
Do you feel like, so with all these great thoughts and ideas surrounding the small business, what we're doing at LDCC is we're trying to teach students who may very well be entrepreneurs in some future endeavor later on down the road. Do you feel like you can take credit for birthing some entrepreneurs here? And consequently, have you actually had your own small business of your own that you've dabbled in?
Well, I'll take the last one first. For a few years, myself and a partner, we had a partnership in a consulting firm. My background is in school boards and that sort of thing, so we had a consulting firm that worked primarily with school boards, and we enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, it was one of those businesses we enjoyed doing, and we didn't want it to get too large because we had full-time jobs and that sort of thing. But so I have dabbled there in being an entrepreneur in a partnership sort of thing, which was successful and a lot of fun. Students here, I certainly think that the LDCC and certainly the School of Business have certainly contributed to those folks that have left here and gone out. You know, when those people raise their hands, as I mentioned, 2/3 of those people are not going to end up being entrepreneurs, but a number of them do come to be entrepreneurs. And I think the school here has certainly contributed to their success as far as being an entrepreneur.
All right. Well, and so if we're birthing entrepreneurs, if we're contributing to the success of small business ownership through what we teach, do we know some data about like what the trajectory is, what the pathway is? Excuse us, the lights are doing something funny in here again. We got to get that fixed. But anyway,
I think I look better with that dimmer light.
You know what? How about I let it go off next time? Right?
All right.
So, you know, do we have any facts about the growth? Or what are we projecting to be the growth of small businesses or in the future, you know, and how much of a driver they are, you know, as an economic driver globally? Do we have any information on that?
I don't know if we have any, maybe a little bit of hard data, but I do know this, that the entrepreneurship path is a path that a lot of folks are wanting to go down. Mm-hmm. Even folks, you know, that have a corporate job or a job like that, a lot of folks now are creating that side job, that entrepreneur job in addition to their job. And you know, and we've got some folks that, you know, they do the corporate life sort of thing. They kind of get that burnout. They decide they want to do something on their own for kind of some of the reasons that you mentioned, and that sort of thing. So there's a number of different paths to become an entrepreneur. Some folks know they want to do it right off. And, you know, we'll have students that will come in here. I want to open up this. I want to open up that. I want to open up something else. And it's something they're really good at, or it's something they have a real passion about, or something like that. And so, you know, I tell students, if you want to open up a bakery, I can't tell you how to bake. I'm not a baker, you know. But, you know, we can here in the School of Business, we can prepare you for the business side of that business. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's going to take for them to be successful.
You know, I feel like when we're advising students, a lot of times, you know, at least half of the students that are business majors, they say, hey, you know, I would like to, if you talk to them a while, they want to get advice for classes, but if you ask them, well, what do you want to do with this degree? They'll say, at least half of them will say, well, I want to eventually open up my own business. So again, as we're speaking to, you know, the impact of what we do at LDCC and the School of Business and Tech, but also just the trajectory going outward, you know, small businesses are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. They're absolutely necessary. They're the foundation, but they're only going to grow. And I think it was a stat, 29% of people who were surveyed in one particular survey said that the reason why they wanted to open up their own business was because they wanted to be their own boss.
That's right.
Now, what is your thoughts on that? That sounds glorious, right? I don't want anybody else to tell me what to do. I want to pull all the strings. I want to make all the big decisions. What do you have to say? Either words of wisdom or encouragement or words of warning to those who want to be their own boss? Well,
you know, that is a strong motive for wanting to be an entrepreneur. And again, you know, I will tell students, if you want to be your own boss and you want, you know, because you want to be an entrepreneur, that way you can get up leisurely and have breakfast, maybe drop by the business mid-morning, go have a nice lunch, and then afternoon maybe go to the golf course or tennis course or go fishing or something like that. And then, you know, check back at the end of the day and then come on back home. That's not the way it works.
Wait, you're telling me that I can't just relax on the beach and tell somebody else to do what needs to be done?
I tell folks, I said, do y'all know any entrepreneurs? And of course, everybody knows entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And I say, how do they work? And they say they work long. Mm-hmm. They work hard. And so the idea is being your own boss is, and some people, I mean, it's hey, look, I'm going to work longer hours. I'm going to have to put in the time. It's not easy to be an entrepreneur. You have to make your own decisions. You have to do a lot of things, but I'm willing to do that because, I know it's going to be hard, but to be my own boss, to be able to birth something myself, to be something that my family can be proud of, maybe to leave a legacy for my family.
That's right.
Things like that. That's very, very strong for people. And that's a strong feeling for people of all cultures that I want to leave something for my family or whatever. So being your own boss is not easy, but that's part of what we talk about. We've mentioned a couple of times about the School of Business and LDCC and what we try to do. Some of the things that we try to teach for people to be employees or to be entrepreneurs, some of the things that we teach are so complicated as things like come to work on time, be persistent in what you do, interact well with people. So some of the things we teach, it's not teaching it so much out of the textbook. It's more life skills that you have to have to be an entrepreneur. I give the example of Sylvester Stallone and Rocky. If you ever watch those Rocky movies, he starred in it. He did the screenplay. He wrote it. He produced it. It was his thing, and he got a lot of rejections before he finally got that to the big screen. And then Rocky won Best Picture that year. And then the history. We had Rocky 35 or something. We had a lot of Rocky movies. But you've got to be energetic. You've got to be creative. You've got to have control of yourself. You've got to be able to believe when others don't believe and things like that. And so there's a number of just practical things we talk about that you need to do to be a successful entrepreneur. But in addition to that, there are certain courses and things. Again, I was looking at some statistics. About 30% of businesses fail because of financial reasons. And let's go back to failure. Again, we're quoting statistics, and there's all kind of statistics, but this seems to be the right pattern. Most small businesses, about 20% of them do not make it past the first year.
That's a sobering
About
stat.
50% of them don't make it through 5 years. Now, there could be other reasons than financial reasons, but that's a really large reason. And another reason is that there's not a demand for the product. That's not financial, but it's certainly business related as far as being able to determine that sort of thing. So when we're looking at our coursework here, aside from trying to stress to people, be punctual, be on time, be the master of your own fate, so to speak, do those interact with people, learn how to communicate, all those sort of things that you have to do. The coursework that they take, they get here at Delta, they get good computer skills. And they get computer skills that are used in the world of business. They take business communications, they take business law, they take marketing, they take management, they take courses like that. And then we have some courses that are specifically designed for folks that want to be entrepreneurs. I know Professor Brian Dunn was with you today, and he teaches a small business management class. Great class for anybody that wants to become an entrepreneur. A customer relations or a customer service class, that's a great class, if you want to be an entrepreneur. Supervision and leadership, a great class if you want to be an entrepreneur. So there's some elective classes, and then there's those required classes. To go back to the fact that most times a business is not going to fail because they do a poor job with the product. They cook a poor pie. They have a poor product. The problem comes where the financial side, they really don't understand. They don't understand how that works. And then another statistic I mentioned was another big thing was there wasn't a demand for their product. One of the big things that we talk about in our classes here is talking about research, business research.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, very important. I mean, before you go out and open a business to sell something, if you want to go out and sell VCRs, that's already been done, and they don't use them anymore. But is there a demand? Well, marketing research, that one of our courses here, that teaches you how to do marketing, to see if your product is a product that's in demand. There's ways that you can test to see if that's the case or not.
Is there an audience for it?
That's right, whether there's somebody for it or not. So that helps with, I think that's probably the number one reason statistics say is because there's not a demand for your product. I mean, demand is the key. The number two reason is the financial, not being able to have financial side. And what we do here, we give them insight into both of those things. And so, again, as I keep relating this back to students, I tell students those statistics about 20% fail the first year, 50% in 5 years. I tell them that's not talking about you, because you're going to have the tools to be able to understand and handle the two things that are most likely to have you fail. Not having a demand for your product and not knowing the financial part of it. So you have a heads up, and I think that's the reason why that our students that have gone out and truly wanted to be entrepreneurs, they've been successful. They've done well.
Yeah, I've noticed lots of great ideas coming through. I've actually had the chance to talk to some students through advising. And through advising, like I said before, some will say, I want to be a small business owner. I've actually met some recently that have said, I do own my own business, or I do have my own ideas. And I didn't kind of wait and, say, well, wait, hold on, I'm not ready for that. They jumped in, and now they're coming to us to make sure that they refine their skills. You can create something that's wonderful, but now how do I get the message out there through marketing? How do I take care of the financials, as you were talking about, to keep them up with my books? And then if I have a team, how do I manage that team? Which, again, admittedly, like I said before, I'm thinking small business, I'm thinking self-employed, I'm thinking just me. But so many of our small businesses rely on and require teamwork and that kind of effort and synergy. So I wanted to ask you, one of the things that gets glanced over a lot of times when we talk about small businesses is understanding key management and supervision principles. And so my question to you was, how important is it to have a strong foundation in management principles, regardless of the size of your business, whether you're managing one other person or you're managing 50 or so on?
One of the problems that businesses are having right now in 2022 is hiring folks. There's a labor shortage. If you look around, you'll see a lot of folks are saying hiring. You see that just about everywhere. So employees are critical in these businesses, but you have to have employees that are prepared, employees that will perform well. And I know, and I'm not going to get into naming this and that, but I bet you could name, if you're listening to this, you could name one or two businesses right off the top of your head. You say, those people are always really good there. Whenever I go such and such, they're on top of it.
Oh, there's one for sure.
They're on top of it. And then you say, but I can go to a similar business that's like this business, and they just they're just not. Well, why is that? I mean, you think, what makes the difference? Well, what makes the difference is that you've got management, you've got ownership, you've got leadership, that is committed to having not an employee but an effective employee, and there's training to make that happen. And so the managers, I guess. And I, again, don't want to get off into a lecture here, but
it's all right.
there are we talk about managers and we talk about leaders. And every once in a while, I'll read some article that somebody's written about the manager versus the leader. And I say, wait a minute. That's never should be. There is never a manager versus the leader situation. A person has to be a manager, an effective manager, and a person has to be an effective leader. Those two things have to clone and blend together, because there are certain things that you have to do as a manager when it comes to organizing and planning and controlling what's going on. Those are management skills, and if you don't have those skills, you're not going to be successful. And if you're an entrepreneur, chances are your business is not going to be successful. But then you've also got the leadership side, to be a leader. And maybe you may have asked me this question, I think in a conversation we've had before, but it's kind of like, well, Joe, what is that great truth that you have hidden in that brain of yours that says, what's the one secret I need to know to be a great leader? And I wish I had something that was that profound. But I do have something that's profound, but it's very simple. The number one thing you have to do, 5 words: get to know your people.
Yes.
When you hire folks that are the type of folks that you feel like want to be a part of what you're a part of, and then get to know your people. As a leader, you've got to train your people. Mm-hmm. That's your responsibility. You've got to motivate your people. That's your responsibility. Now, people, wait a minute. Well, I don't have to. I pay them $8 an hour. They should be motivated themselves. No. Whether your employee is an $8 an hour employee or a $500,000 an hour employee, management has a responsibility to motivate their employees, to train their employees, to encourage their employees, to mentor their employees. And first of all, you have to know how to do that, and you have to do it. So I'm to your question about employees that you have in these in any business, but employees are key. And please don't ever say something like, well, I just don't know what's wrong with my employees. They're just not what they should be. What you're really saying is, I don't know how to lead and manage. Because when you hire folks, because you see businesses, and you'll go into businesses all the time, and you say, those are the nicest people. Those are the most helpful people. And then you go somewhere else and you say, well, those people are they were terrible. What's the difference between those two people? Well, probably not anything. What the difference is the training and the mentoring and the encouragement and the leadership that they have from those people that are the manager, supervisor, leaders. So you're saying there's never just a bad apple? Well, of course. But I'm talking about in the vast majority of the cases, management, the entrepreneur. Listen, if you have 2 or 3 employees, they better be good. But it's your responsibility. And see, what happens is you don't know how to do it. That doesn't just come to you one day I know how to handle people. That's one of those great things that having the type thing we do here at Delta helps you to understand. We have a supervision and leadership class that I really enjoy doing, and it helps people to understand how to lead. But you got to get to know your people. I tell folks all the time, treat everybody equally, but don't treat them all the same. Because what motivates Ryan Pierce maybe doesn't motivate Joe Lane. The type of mentoring I need may be different than the type of mentoring somebody else needs. Should everybody have the opportunity to be mentored? Should everybody have the opportunity to be trained? Should everybody have the opportunity to do this? Yeah. Equally, you're not going to treat if you want to be successful, you're not going to treat one different one. You're going to treat everyone equally. But if you get to know your people, you're not going to treat them the same. And it's kind of like that teaching or learning philosophy. This it makes a lot of sense. Be equal, be fair. You're fair to everybody. You're equal to everybody. That's what you strive to do. But you don't treat everybody alike because everybody's not alike. Got me all excited there.
I'm telling you, when it comes to management and leadership, and I have asked you some of those questions that
you
quoted. So, and the same truths always come out. It's very consistent, and you do, because management is something and leadership is something that you've done for, I feel like, your whole life. You have personal experience with it, as well as you have the book knowledge and the theoretical elements that you teach the students. And so that's why it doesn't surprise me that when we start talking about management and leadership, there's a lot to say.
I never had a strong desire to become an entrepreneur. I mean, if it had come available, that would have been okay. The entrepreneurial thing that we did with our consulting business, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that. It was a good experience, and it was an experience that I probably needed to be in the classroom to be able to speak from that side of things. But management and leadership is just so incredibly important, and being able to do it and being able to do it effectively. Yeah.
So as we, continue the conversation, I feel like, at this moment, we could probably just stop the show. You put a bow on it, it was great. But I did have a couple more questions for you. And one of those questions is, as we relate back, everything that we're talking about is related to the entrepreneur and small businesses. What do you consider to be the hallmarks of a successful entrepreneurial venture?
Okay.
I know that can be different for everybody, but what would you consider to be the hallmarks of a successful entrepreneurial venture?
Well, this answer may be a little different than what you expect, but again, I go into class and I say, you want to be successful, or you want to be an entrepreneur? Yes. Okay, if you do, how can you tell if you're successful or not? I asked them, what makes you successful as an entrepreneur? And it's how many people know about my business. That's a good mark. I like that. It's how many people that come into my business. Well, that's a good mark too. It's how much money I have in the cash register. Well, that's a good mark too. But what we get down through the conversation, and the hallmark of a successful business is profit.
You're bringing it back to dollars and cents.
You have to make a profit. There are few organizations, but we won't go into that. But for entrepreneurs, if an entrepreneur is not profitable, they're not going to make it. It goes back. Now, if you are a successful entrepreneur, should profit be the only thing that matters to you? No. I mean, should you give back to your community? We talk about that. Should you be good to your employees? Yes. Should you treat your customers right by doing things? All of that is things that you can do to make your business stand out in the community as, hey, this business gives back. This business is a business because the community supports it, but as a result of that, this business is giving back to the community. And in 2022, people expect businesses to give back. But to be able to do that, they've got to be profitable. Their revenue has got to exceed their expenses. We talk about that, and that sort of thing. So again, you mentioned accounting. People need to know about accounting so they can understand from a financial point of view how they're doing and analyze that and make good business decisions. Make sure they're doing promotion or those sort of things. But now, I am off on another little tangent here.
That's okay.
I've kind of become a tangent here over the last maybe couple of years. I don't want folks to think that profit is everything, or that it's profit at all cost. And so let me get out on a limb a little bit.
I was wondering because when you said the first thing you said was got to make money, I was like, oh my gosh, you know.
All right. I'll get out. I'll get out on this limb just a tiny bit. As far as a business, again, has to be profitable to stay in business, but not a profit at all costs. The greatest economic system ever is capitalism. There's a socialistic system where you're provided much by the government. There's a communistic economic system where the government does everything for you, and it's been proven time and time again those don't work because they don't generate the kind of wealth that capitalistic economic system generates. And what I mean by that is, you know, when a business comes to town, we talk about, is that community wealthier as a result of that business being there? Well, the answer is yes, because that business provides, you know, money, salaries for the employees. It does business with other businesses, you know, a number of things that makes the community better by a fact of having a successful business there. But what you're looking at is capitalism is the economic system that works. And what is capitalism? It's where private individuals are in control of, I use the term, you know, factors of production, but basically they're in control of business. It's not government running the business, it's private individuals running those businesses, operating those businesses, whether it be a Walmart or you know, a small business and entrepreneurship. And I know we all know there are countries where you can't do this. We would not be having Global Entrepreneur Week because you can't be an entrepreneur. In a lot of in any kind of a communistic economic system, and in some degree, even in some socialistic economic systems, very difficult to be an entrepreneur. But you have that opportunity here to be an entrepreneur. And when private individuals, when they go about being successful, they create wealth for the community, and that's good. And so whenever I hear through the media somebody talking about how terrible capitalism is, I just want to jump on them because that's not true. It is the greatest economic driver, the greatest wealth producer to have communities with wealth and you know, just that sort of thing. But when profit is profit, and that's the only motive, profit at all cost. You know, you hear that, you know, how much money is enough? Just a little bit more. When businesses' total focus is profit and becoming more profitable, and they do that at the expense of the customer. They do that at the expense of the employees. They do that at the expense of the community. They do that at the expense of their owners or the investors or whoever it happens to be. That's where, when you have business, and go back and Google Enron.
Oh gosh.
Probably the poster child for a business that was run purely for profit, not caring who was hurt, except for those folks that were at the top of the heap. And so capitalism sometimes gets, in this day, kind of gets a bad rap. And it's not the capitalistic economic system. That's the great system. But you have to understand, and I think entrepreneurs understand this, but you have to understand that it is profit. I have to be profitable. But in being profitable, I have to make sure that, again, that I treat my employees correctly. You know, and if the focus in your mind is profit at all cost, that's detrimental. But if you're, and I know some people are probably saying, well, you're kind of in a dream world here. Well, no, you know, I may be in a dream world, but if we get too many folks that profit becomes the only thing, it's going to become so detrimental. Things are going to change, I think, in a bad sort of way. So businesses have to know, yeah, profit, absolutely, got to make it. But you do that at the same time that you still got to be a little, you know, that servant leader. You still got to serve your community. You still got to serve your employees. You still got to serve your customers. And here's the deal. If you do that, it ensures not 100%, but close to it, the fact that you're going to be around a long time. Because people want to do businesses with businesses that do that. And I encourage folks, if you know a business that gives back and everything, trade with that business. And if you know one that doesn't, stay away from them. Stay away from them. So I guess my sum up statement is the number one thing is profit so that you can do a lot of other things as well.
A lot of good things.
A lot of good things as well.
And I'm glad you said that, because that same part of the discussion, that element right there, being socially responsible, that came up in a previous conversation with another guest on this particular Entrepreneurship Week series. So, and it's so true. I could see how some in the listening audience could think, wow, how can I be successful without being cutthroat? How can I be successful if I allow someone else to take advantage of my kindness, so to speak? But I like the picture that you paint, is that it is possible to have integrity, and it's possible to be honorable and still run a business. You don't have to fall into the idea that it's a dog-eat-dog world. There are ways to balance the extremes, and you so eloquently put it that it can't be at all costs, because with every business there's the human element, and with the human element we have to treat each other in a way that is respectful and with dignity.
And I can hear a small group of folks saying, those folks are sitting there and they have no idea what it's really like out there in the real world. Well, you've been in the real world. I've been in the real world. I've, like I say, I don't have extensive entrepreneurial experience. I have some entrepreneurial experience, but I meant this idea that the only way I can succeed is dog eat dog, cutthroat sort of thing. Not only is that a bad way to run a business, that's a bad way to run a life. Hey, I was talking to a class today, and we almost got off into this. Life is not about profit. Life is about living a life. And like I say, I am very blessed being slightly older than you, although they probably think we're twins as they see us.
Hey, right.
I am very blessed to have the people I'm around and to be involved with what I'm involved and be able to do the things that I do and that sort of thing. But you enjoy life, and if you're an entrepreneur, that's going to be a big part of your life. But you have the opportunity to make a profit. But you have the opportunity to give back. And when you do things like that, it makes you feel good. And I tell you, there was a time when the economist, Friedman, I think was his name. I may be wrong. If you're a big economist, I may have the wrong name. But he said very emphatically, your social responsibility is to make a profit, period.
Wow.
Now, that's been a few years ago. But you look him up. I think it's Milton Friedman. He said it's a profit. That's all you have to do. If you do anything other than making a profit, I do look better with the lights out.
We'll keep it out.
If you do anything more than, you are being unfair to your owners and taking money out of their pockets. Well, I'm going to tell you, that could have been a philosophy in 1960 or 70. I don't believe it, but that may have held water. But in 2022. With the culture we have, the folks that we have coming up, the folks that are now, that's not, social responsibility is important. And business, if it wants to remain viable and not under the control of government, because when a business, when an organization, when they don't control themselves, others will control them, and that's that can happen. So I don't think it's a pipe dream. I don't think it's hey, these people don't know what they're talking about. I think that, and there's so many cases of it out there. The majority of businesses, these folks, they work hard and they're trying to do what's right, and as a result of that, that's what we're looking for. And that's who people want to associate with. That's who people want to do business with. So I don't take the idea that you got to play that game. profit, yes, but be a good corporate citizen. Be a good entrepreneur citizen, and I think you can do it because you want to, but I think it will pay you back as far as your business itself is concerned, the success of your business.
Wow. So with that, I have one more question for you. That was a great. I know you. Lots of good information, and dare I say, you probably would be saying I'm calling you old if I said lots of wisdom there, right? But,
yeah, that's another way of saying old. I understand that.
But it's always good to hear you, listen to you, because there's really a lot that needs to be said and a lot that needs to be learned. A lot of us, we're looking for we're trying to figure out what the ideal way to go about things is, whether that be professionally, whether that be personally. And you never disappoint. Whenever you get in front of a classroom, in front of an audience, in this case it's a virtual audience, there's always those pieces and those elements that anybody who's listening can take away, and that's your gift, or that's at least a part of it, and we're so thankful for that. My final question, you may have already given it to us already, but the final question I try to wrap up with is for the aspiring business owner or entrepreneur, do you have any words of wisdom as we wrap up this episode?
Well, first of all, one more time, you're much too kind in the things that you say. But like I say, you probably learned something from me, because I know I've learned a lot from you, and it's been a pleasure to and we learn from each other. As I mentioned that before, that's important. The inspiring entrepreneur. What's important? You got to have a passion for it. If I'd like to be an entrepreneur, or I'd like to be an astronaut, or I'd like to be a cowboy. That's not a passion for something. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to have a passion. This is what I want to do. This is why I want to do it. It's something that I want to devote my life to. You may know that when you're 9 years old. You may not learn that until later, but the passion for it is the most important thing. The second thing is you've got to believe in what you're doing. You've got to believe that it is something that could be successful, and things are successful when they help other people. If you can solve somebody else's problem, or you can meet somebody else's need, that goes a long way towards being successful. So you've got to believe in it, but you've got to believe in something that's going to be important to you, that's going to fill the need or solve a problem for somebody else. Perseverance, believing in it, that sort of thing. Then what you've got to do, you've got to train for it. You've got to prepare yourself. You've got to equip yourself. Having served in the military, one of the first things that you do when you get in the military, they train you. Before you have whatever missions that you end up having. If I really want to be an entrepreneur, do I think that if I just go up there and start doing it, the knowledge and the gift of how I'm going to do it is just going to fall in my head? The answer is no. How do I prepare for it? We've already talked about the things that Delta Community College can do. If you want to be an entrepreneur, work in the field that you want to be an entrepreneur. And I went back. I talked about working in or owning your own bakery. Work in a bakery, or at least work in a small business. I mean, to prepare yourself for the things that you're going to encounter, and so if do it to serve other people. So I'm looking at this. Here's somebody that thinks, hey, I might want to be an entrepreneur. All right. So I'm saying, if you want to be, make sure you believe in it. Make sure that that you have the passion for it. Make sure that you have the stick-to-itiveness to do it. Then prepare yourself with the education and the training that you need to move into it. That's really that's what you have to do. You've got to prepare yourself. You got to prepare yourself for battle. I go back to that military example. You are prepared to go into a combat situation. Well, now I'm sure not saying entrepreneurship is combat. I don't mean that, but I'm saying if it's important to you, it's a passion for you, then prepare yourself to have the tools that you need. And I'll say this: if you don't like people, don't do it. You got to be a people person. Remember that success is all about people. Whether those people are your employees or your customers and that sort of thing. So enjoy people. Enjoy working with people. And that's kind of just a broad sweep at things that could be helpful.
I think those are great items to take back, chew on a little bit, think about, and then implement. And what you said, again, I'm writing things down, right? So you said passion, you said belief, you said train yourself, get the proper training, and of course you got to love people. And it seems like all four of those are a recipe for success, but they also all kind of feed into each other if you think about it. You probably are going to stand to believe in yourself more and more the more you get trained and the more practice you have in your craft, and so on. And then when we talk about people, if you treat them right, and you like people, then they'll get to get behind you, and they'll help you to stay motivated sometimes in times that you may not be as motivated, because they're pushing you forward as the business owner or the leader to say, hey, you can do this. This is great things. You've said the same, or encouraged me at times. Now it's not my time to give back to you. So it just seems to cycle and give to itself.
Put your energy into it too. Energy. You've got you've got to be action oriented when you do this. You can't sit down passively and wait for it to happen. And we've said that in another way. If you go out and you start working in that, if you start, I don't have time to go to school. Sure you do. We have a lot of online classes. We have day-to-day class. Get into however you need to prepare yourself. That's going to take a lot of work. Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship. That's what it's going to take. You got to have a high energy level, and keep that energy and keep that focus, and you can be successful.
I like how you ended it. Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship. If you've listened to this from start to finish, welcome. If you're ready, if you think you can do it, if you just have a thought that maybe you could be successful, follow the path, take the advice. Professor Lane laid it all out for you, and then welcome. It's going to be a tough road. It won't be easy, but if you can have the discipline, the passion, the belief, get the training, love the people that you're around, have a passion for people, and just keep the energy up, you'll do well.
And what could be more rewarding than that? What a rewarding way to do things. It would be great.
All right. Well, with that, we're shutting it down for today. Another fantastic interview. Thank you so much, Professor Lane.
Oh, gosh, I enjoyed it very much, always.
And, hey, if you guys are out there listening, we only have one more of these. One more to come, which is tomorrow at 2:30. So please join us tomorrow for the finale of our Global Entrepreneurship Week series. Thank you so much for watching this one. We'll see you at the next one.